got a new synth to work on. Actually, it's not really a synth. It's a 70s string machine. This is the Elka Rhapsody 610. 61 keys, hence 610 model number. These are modulation boards, little LFO. Here's the control section. The control section is different on this one compared to a 490. You can split the keyboard into two zones and mix in different sets of voices. Adds two voices also compared to the 490. And then you can apply decay as well. These are 48-year-old sliders. They'll be, interesting to open up. This one came to me knowing that had power supply issues, or rather, it simply hasn't been successfully turned on in 20 years. So you don't plug in a synth that comes that way. You open it up first. This one immediately, the main fuse was blown. Let's open this up. Where do you see what's inside this guy? So all but one screw was removed from the actual, rectifying, power smoothing section of the power supply. Not a good idea. Again, missing another fuse. A couple fuses here on the secondary windings from the transformer. It has dual sets of secondary, so I think it has two different pairs of positive and negative voltage, but I have to confirm that. Rectifier. I don't know what the story is here, why these are busted out. Maybe somebody tested these caps? I don't know. Power supply buses, essentially. Interesting little features. There's little test ports built into all these, so you could just put a wire in it, and I think it gets you right. Basically, it's not a via, because it's not those types of circuit boards, but the leads are actually attached to these little tubes. So I think that is really meant to facilitate testing. A couple of quite a few diodes there, and some transistors of a archaic design. So that would be a mess to plug in. I mean, with the main fuse blown, sure, I guess you could plug it in and nothing bad would happen. Don't do that. Open these things up first. This one I'm going to completely isolate and do some kind of, something. I don't really want much power going anywhere initially from this. So I'll probably pull these two fuses and probably disconnect these, get this board out completely, and start with a transformer test. Over here, we've got, I think what I have here is the master oscillator board. I haven't looked these chip numbers up. I think that because we got this panel here, and all these circuit boards are connected to it, and these circuit boards, these other three, all have SAJ 110 frequency divider chips on them. So they would be getting their clock from over here, and then they divide the frequency down to provide 61 keys of pitch. Now this is interesting. I did not expect this. There are 61 circuit boards here. And look, they are labeled. Look at that. A, B, C, D. Yeah, you know what that means. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. H? Where the hell did H come from? L, M. Oh, geez. Here I'm thinking it's a scale, and it's not. Well, anyway, they're labeled for a reason, so don't screw that up. Jeez, this is something else. Now, look at these capacitors. Oh, wow. I'm like looking into some of these capacitors. It looks like there's dielectric related corrosion and spewed guts all over. There's a bunch down here too. I'm speculating that they're going to look as bad. Wow, wow, wow. That just adds up to a lot of OCD type of work. Sit down, watch some TV, replace capacitors. Actually, I could send this to like a TV repair shop and say, yeah, just recap all this shit for me. Not into that at all. Okay, bus bar. This thing is a trip. We've got some dual action connectors going on in here. I haven't looked up how this thing works yet. My hunch is that this really is a powered bus bar. It's not just, doing nothing there. And although I'm not seeing how it's getting any power, but I still think that a voltage signal is probably being derived off of this, like on a monosynth, and that voltage signal. Or maybe it's just a switch. Maybe it's not even the voltage. It just switches on the signal to the corresponding board. It may be that simple. Maybe, mechanical switch and not any power involved necessarily, because I'm not seeing any power attachments. But boy, that is not a good looking bus bar. So, I'm going to try some different polishing agents on that, I think. There's a lot of rust. All the screws holding the case together were gone. Somebody had opened it up, farted around with it, lost all the screws, some tech 20 years ago, and didn't even put it back together the way it came to him, and gave up, as near as I can tell. Because that was pretty much a story from the owner. Just gave up. Now here's the most interesting part. Everything on the web says an Elka is from 75, the 610. I say no way. This is 1972. That's when this was built and tested by these two guys. So, 1972. That's pretty cool. There's a big power resistor there. Okay, well, other than this stuff here, it looked pretty similar to a 490. I had no idea I was going to see 61 cards in here. Oh well. I cried. Ooh, look at that. Yeah. Corrosion. Basically, if there's a capacitor, there's corrosion. What's that? Is that cracked? Might just be then the color of the chiclet. There's some more cracked. Actually, geez, now that I look at all these little striped guys, they all have cracks on them. I'm going to have to talk to the owner about this one. So my plan is simple. Revive the power supply. I got a couple spare capacitors. I think they're this exact rating. 2000 microfarad, 50 volt, you know. And they're much smaller these days. So put them in, test the diodes, just a couple of the capacitors. I got those. And check the transformer. Basically just see, get power, and then see where this thing, you know, breaks. Oh yeah, and why did it have blown fuses? Well, I've got to do some short checks, I imagine. Although, yeah, see, there you go. So we're grounded to the case. We're probably grounded to the case in a few places. And so you can't just, you know, test a board for short to the case because you're already grounded to the case. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Try to get it to a safe state to be able to test it out, and we'll figure it out from there.